We're going to talk about DC statehood now, which is at least like a little bit of fun. You know what I mean? A little bit of fun stuff. Now, this is one of the main arguments that I find hilarious. So,
Framers.
DC statehood is completely reasonable. Okay. DC has more individuals living in it than Wyoming, and yet it's not a state. The fact that they pay federal taxes, yet still do not have a fucking say in what happens in their lives is ridiculous. It is at the heart of taxation without representation, which our founders were definitely against. But the reality is DC has a large black population. The reality is that DC slants overwhelmingly Democratic. And that's precisely why Republicans are not going to want to have another state that is going to automatically give two fucking Democratic senators. That's part of the reason why Democrats are pushing for it, because why the fuck not? I mean, it's ridiculous. The Senate is becoming increasingly more and more unequal. If you recall, I believe in the last midterm general election, 40 million more Democrats voted, and yet we have a 50-50 gridlock Senate, despite the fact that 40 million more fucking Democrats voted for senators instead of Republicans, because the inequality is literally built into the Senate structure. When you think about the state of California, for example, the state of California has 2 senators, and yet it has the total population of like 5, 6, depending on how you do the math, up to what? Fucking 6 states? I forget what it is. I mean, it's nuts. You can, I don't know what the exact math is. Whatever. It doesn't matter. So, it's ridiculous. The inequality is built into how the Senate works and how the Senate operates. And Democrats want to at least make it a little bit more equal, while also simultaneously adding more representation to a group of people that are nearing 1 million in population. A million in population, 100,000 more people that live in like than live in Wyoming. They do not want it to become a state because they just don't want the extra fucking Democratic freebie seats. In the past, this is what I was thinking of. Yeah, 40 million people give 46 senators. 40 million people 2 senators. So let's see what incredible counter arguments Republicans added to the argument, the reason as to why DC should not be a state. The Heritage Foundation's Zach Smith was arguing against DC statehood. It says DC residents already impact the national debate. Let's hear it from him, though. It's really fucking good.
Also wanted to avoid one state having undue influence over the federal government. There's no question that DC residents already impact the national debate. For the members here today, how many of you saw DC statehood?
Okay, dog, do you not understand the fucking irony in what you're saying? Like, DC already impacts the debate? Motherfucker, they don't even have representation. Like, what are you talking about? Like, DC already impacts the debate while I'm simultaneously refusing to give them a seat at the table. You understand? Like, what do you mean DC impacts the fucking debate? You know what really impacts the debate? Not the will of the citizens. Certainly not in the United States of America, where, again, we, like I said, we're a collection of fucking corporations and their values that these politicians and lobbyists fucking demonstrate, including Zach fucking Smith. What does the Heritage Foundation do? Literally lobbying. Okay? In a conversation that is supposed to make the system a little bit more democratic, this dude is literally saying DC would have an outsized representation in the argument here, while simultaneously denying them the right. If you want to actually make the system more democratic, then abolish the think tanks, including the Heritage Foundation, and make it illegal to get campaign contributions from corporations. There you go. Make it more democratic. If you truly cared about democracy, that's what you would do. Not try to stop a fucking state from... Yeah, if you truly care about democracy and proportional representation, abolish the Senate. Like, ridiculous.
Yard signs or bumper
Motherfucking Chuck Todd ass barcode bangs Andy over here.
stickers or banners on your way to this hearing today. I certainly did. Where else in the nation could such simple actions reach so many members of Congress? Framers also wanted...
Yeah, framers, dude. You know what else the framers wanted? Black people to remain slaves and women to be property, okay? So the framers wanted a lot of dumb shit. There are a bunch of different ways that framers wanted to carve out the states too, which was, what was it, like Mega Virginia? I saw that one, where Virginia is like one massive fucking state. Yeah, yard signs are the end all be all, like as though these fucking dipshit lobbyists and corporate demons are going to be swayed by yard signs when fucking actual polling numbers do not even matter in this regard, as we saw. Yeah, oh no, they'll see bumper stickers and they'll change their minds. Here's Republican Rep Jody Heiss arguing against DC Statehood because it doesn't have land. Oh, this
DC
is the greatest
would be
part.
The only state without an airport, without a car dealership.
Folks, DC doesn't have a car dealership. I don't know if you knew this or not.
Without a capital city, without a landfill, without even a name on its own, and we could go on and on and on. DC would be the only state, the only...
Yeah, this is how the framers intended for states to look, by the way. Yeah. Fucking Long Carolina and Mega Virginia. I love that. Also, why the fuck is Connecticut like being cut by New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts, and kind of Maryland too? Or I guess that's like what the fuck's going on? Also, Massachusetts is gigantic, dude. Can you imagine this being Massachusetts? It would be horrible. Massachusetts, more like mass. Yeah, Massachusetts. Look what they took from us. Yeah, it's all Massachusetts, baby. So the arguments that they're putting forward are fucking moronic. Like they're so stupid because there is no argument, okay? There is no argument beyond we just don't want Democrats to have more power that would be more democratic ultimately and it would be a better distribution of power back to the fucking Democrats. Historically, you don't just open up the opportunity to have like a fucking democratic state without also saying, well, here's a Republican-leaning state that we should also give statehood to. Obviously, that's the reason why they can't do it. Historically, they would have paired it up with PR, Puerto Rico. But Puerto Rico, in recent years, has literally turned into... One, there's two different problems with Puerto Rico. One is that some people want complete independence in Puerto Rico, and some people want statehood. And two, Puerto Rico is no longer a lock for a Republican or a conservative state. So they can't even do that anymore. What is the Chud argument against DC statehood? Like, does the common Republican voter even care? Yes, they do. They want, because for the common Republican voter, it's team sports. So they just want their team to win. So that's precisely why they don't want DC to have statehood. So because their team might have a more equal footing. And that's it. And that's precisely why they do not want statehood for DC. I say merge the Dakotas, okay? Merge the fucking Dakotas. I would even merge the Dakotas, merge the Carolinas, okay? Merge Virginia. Yeah, make a mega Coda, mega Carolina. Delete Wyoming. Shit would look a little bit better. Absolutely do not merge the Carolinas. Yeah, too late, brother. I just did. Mega Virginia? No, Megaginia. All right, let's hear it.
Talks about what it takes to build a good economy. And he says we either have to manufacture it, we have to grow it, or we have to mine it. Of course, you can milk it too. I guess what he's saying is wealth is created by manufacturing, agriculture, or natural minerals. And those are things that I think every state has in some degree. I'd like to ask anyone up there if they have an idea as far as the number of manufacturing jobs in Washington, D.C. I mean, usually with a big city, Milwaukee, Chicago, it's substantial. Talk a little bit about the agriculture in Washington, D.C., and talk about the mining or drilling in Washington, D.C.
This is the dumbest argument, dude, especially because it just literally ignores how the global economy works in 2021. This is so stupid. Oh, okay. Well, thank God New York State has like something beyond Wall Street. You know what I mean? Otherwise, like New York shouldn't be a state either, despite being like a fucking cosmopolitan city that that basically runs like global finance. Yeah, Rhode Island.
All three of which have to be
okay. Rhode Island is kind of a good argument to no longer have as a state.
very tiny compared to that what we get in a normal state. So I'll ask. I guess anybody want to take a stab at that? Because we have people talking about the workforce of Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Congressman.
Yeah. Okay. Representative Kwesi Mufume corrects Heritage's Zach Smith, who claimed that Walter Fauntleroy opposed statehood.
To statehood. Mr. Smith, you were naming a number of significant people elected and appointed who were opposed to statehood. And you mentioned the former Congressman Fauntleroy. What was his opposition? Do you know?
I do, Congressman. Delegate Fauntleroy was advocating for other voting rights legislation for district residents, but he was saying that he wanted to be clear with other members of Congress that he was not advocating for DC statehood because, in his words, that would be in direct defiance of the prescriptions of
I'm going to reclaim my time on that, Mr. Harris. I'm not trying to figure out where Mr. Fauntleroy was in the 1970s, but rather where he was all along since then. And he was a big, strong advocate of DC statehood. In fact, we took a train, he and I, and a number of members of the Congress from New York back down to Washington, with each stop having a rally for DC statehood. So I think you probably want to check your facts on that, because Walter Fauntleroy was not against statehood. Now,
God damn, dude. Get fucked, bitch. Merge Utah and Idaho and make the Great Mormon State. So let's look at the DC statehood gaining national support.
Think about DC as the capital of the mall
or monuments. But they don't think about the oversight.
That's great. Idaho. Oh my God, dude. There's some really funny fucking things that you could do. Idaho.
700,000 residents who have no representation in Congress and who are essentially locked out of the democracy that surrounds them every day.
Pro-statehood Democrats have
Listen, Sweaty, if DC wanted to be a state, well, did they consider not being so black? That's literally the entire argument, okay? Look at all the fucking states that we have currently. That's it. That's straight up. I'm sorry. That is literally the fucking argument, okay? That's the real reason.
long called the lack of representation an injustice to district residents. Meanwhile, Republicans have labeled statehood as a power grab by Democrats, looking to change the electoral map.
United States is the only country which does not give the same rights to the people who live in its capital as everyone else has.
Eleanor Holmes Norton has represented D.C. in the House of Representatives since 1991, but as a non-voting delegate. She has proposed statehood bills multiple times, but none of them passed until 2019.
The District of Columbia Statehood Bill, H.R. 51, is...
Oh, fuck. Before I continue with this video, I forgot. I'm going to run an ad right now because it's top of the hour. Boys, you already know what the deal is. If you no longer want to see the ads, all you need to do is subscribe. You can do it for $5 or for free with a motherfucking Twitch Prime, baby. All right? You can do it. I believe in you. Here's the ad now. I'm running the ad. Get those primers out. Let's keep going.
Passed without objection. Motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
Or ad block.
It went nowhere in the Republican-controlled Senate, but she reintroduced the legislation at the opening of the 117th Congress. This time, she has 212 co-sponsors and commitment from House leadership that the bill would receive a floor vote. Democratic Senator Tom Carper of Delaware also introduced the companion statehood bill.
We should all be concerned that today, more than 700,000 tax-paying Americans, over two-thirds of whom are people of color, continue to be denied a vote here in this body.
To better understand why D.C. isn't a state, let's go back to 1787. While writing the Constitution, the Founding Fathers decided that it was imperative that the seat of government was not in a state. Their goal was to keep any state from having outsized influence over the federal government.
Oh, yeah, the Dakota Territory. Oh, fuck, we got to talk about this, too. The Dakota Territory was cut in half and admitted as 2 states as part of a larger scheme by Republicans to add 6 new states over a 9-month period in 1889 and 1890, and thereby pack the Senate with Republicans like you. Exactly. Like, these motherfuckers there was no question as to why the Dakotas were fucking sliced. You know what I mean? There's no reason why the Dakotas should not be one mega Dakota. Crazy. Mega Dakota.
And to keep the nation's capital as a neutral enclave. So they wrote Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, that Congress can exercise exclusive legislation in a federal district as long as it does not exceed 10 miles square, or in layman's terms, 100 miles.
They essentially decide that through what would later be called the Residence Act, that the capital will be somewhere along the Potomac River between the confluence with the Eastern Branch and a creek about 50 or so miles north of here in Maryland. So people in Washington City, which was the largest settlement within the District of Columbia, not only lost their right to vote for president and for members of Congress, they didn't have any government at all. Congress effectively operated as their city council. For the next 220 years, in various ways, DC residents lobby for home rule, because they do lose it after 1874 for an entire 100 years, but also representation in Congress.
In 1963, Congress ratified the 23rd Amendment, giving D.C. residents the right to vote in presidential elections. 8 years later, a non-voting delegate position in the House was reinstated. And finally, in 1973, the passage of the Home Rule Act allowed residents to elect their own mayor and city council. However, all legislation, including the city's budget, required congressional approval. This all remains true today. It's why taxation without representation became the official slogan on DC license plates.
The best way to see the injustice of paying taxes without representation is to compare DC residents and what they pay with other Americans.
If DC is too small to be a state, there's 2 other states that should not be a state.
Despite having no say over how those tax dollars are spent, DC residents actually pay the highest per capita federal income taxes in the U.S.
The concept of one person, one vote is not existent here. We are the last location within the country that pays full taxes that is denied our representation. Until everyone is represented, no one equally is.
While Democrats control both chambers of Congress, the margin in the Senate couldn't be narrower. Vice President Harris is needed to break every tie on votes, requiring a simple majority. And statehood requires way more votes than that, 60 to be exact. That means advocates need to convince Republicans and moderate Democrats to vote yes.
Statehood for Washington, D.C.
I don't know enough about that yet. I want to see the pros and cons.
Oh, fuck you, dude. I mean, see, like, this is what I mean. Like, bitch, you're a Democrat. Like, this is literally the one thing that you're supposed to be on board with. Like, there is no... By the way, guys, there is no constitutional fucking counter argument to, like, offering more representation to American people. Taxation without representation. It's literally in the fucking name. Okay? It is ridiculous that anyone... all Joe Manchin does is expose himself in this regard. As a Democratic senator... to fucking literally be like, I don't know what to do about DC representation. Like, it's fucking bullshit. The only reason why you're saying that is because you want to be a spoiler, okay? You're a piece of shit, dog shit human being who wants to be a fucking spoiler for every little thing for your personal branding endeavor that you have embarked upon, okay? That's it. That's lit. It's literally, there is no other reason for why you would say, why you'd be anti-DC statehood. What is this? This is like a caricature of liberals from right-wing talk radio. What is this? When asked about Duckworth, when asked about AAPI representation for the second part, the first words out of staff's mouth is, "We're very proud of Vice President Harris," which is incredibly insulting, Duckworth said. What? Until then, I am no vote on the floor on all non-diversity nominees, she said, including sub-cabinet choices and judicial nominees. She says she would support racial minorities and LGBTQ nominees. After informing the White House, Duckworth said they will get back to me. What? Dude, what are these people doing, man? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, what is this fucking take that, like, if there's a white person or like a white male that is, it's like a Democratic appointee, Democrats are just no longer going to vote for it? Like, what the fuck? Ugh. Lol, this is Red Rose Twitter's champion? Really? Tammy Duckworth is Red Rose Twitter's champion? Are neoliberals that fucking stupid? Since when? How do you go from like me dunking on fucking Tammy Duckworth to like literally turning my attention to you because of how stupid your take was? Duckworth says she'll block all future Biden nominees until he names a high-ranking AAPI official. That demand just happens to come moments before she does a huge favor for Israel by opposing a lead advocate of the Iran deal under Obama, but he's white, so it's for justice sake. Duckworth says she's informed, we already saw this, why the U.S. Senate should reject Colin Kahl's appointment. He was also a major advocate for the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know if that's like the way that she's going about it. Maybe she just thought she wanted to have a girl boss moment or some shit. "2022 is gonna be so fucked for Dems. They're still gonna blame the left instead of this dog shit." Oh, 100%. See, Tammy Duckworth is actually a Rose Twitter
So I'm waiting
favorite.
to see all the facts. I'm open up to see everything.
I will never vote to give a single middling-sized city the same political power as one of America's great 50
Yeah, which is why Wyoming should be abolished, right? Fucking asshole.
states.
This is a continuation of it.
Like, how can you say this? Like, how can you literally say that while Wyoming exists? Okay, or fucking Vermont too. Vermont has less less of a population than DC. Alaska is like nearing DC in a couple of years could surpass Alaska and North Dakota. So what's up?
Efforts by the Democrats to alter the way America operates.
Calls for statehood grew stronger after the security
Stop saying Rhode Island. Rhode Island still has like, 1 million population. I'm not gonna cover more transgender sports bill fucking shit. Okay. Uncap the House. My grandpa also argues that DC should be neutral. How do you argue against the state? Like, what do you mean DC should be neutral? Like, there is no neutrality in DC. Why should it be neutral? Why? What does that mean? Because you touch yourself at night? DC should be net neutral. I'm smart. You want to make DC a state? They can't even make a decent Justice League movie. Shaking my head. Oh, God. Like, what the fuck does neutral mean? You just know, you just recognize that DC is going to be Democrat, and you just don't want fucking Democratic votes. That's it. You just don't want extra Democratic votes because, God forbid, that would be a little bit closer to equality in the Senate. Holy shit, guys. We cannot have that.